What's up, everybody? Welcome to Real Ones. My name is Michael Pina. I'm a senior staff writer at TheRinger.com, and I am still, for one more week, excited to guest host this fantastic NBA podcast. Joining me on the other line, a man who once averaged 19.1 points with ridiculous 51-51-80 shooting splits for an entire 7-game second-round playoff series in which his Phoenix Suns defeated the Los Angeles Clippers in 2006. The one, the only, Raja Bell.
Michael, you've outdone yourself again, sir. Thank you. Thank you. What a time that was. I needed that this morning, man. You know, I'm running around here, Christmas, a lot of stuff going on. I needed that little pick-me-up. Take me back in the time machine. I appreciate you.
That was a great series. I remember watching it in my dorm room in college. It was fantastic.
It was a very cool. We probably shouldn't have won that series or the series before that, but it was all good.
Raja, should Dallas be considered the favorites to win the West right now? And I say that because Luka is back looking like an MVP candidate. Kyrie is having one of his best seasons, which is very scary and kind of ridiculous. Their defense is legit. The pieces that they've added, Clay, Quentin Grimes, Najee Marshall, have all played really well so far this season. So what do you think? Is Dallas should Dallas be the favorite right now?
This was a tough one for me, right? Because I mean, you asked me to pick, and just on the spot, I picked OKC. They match up in the quarter, so that would suggest that I'd say no. But you know, since I do see it as kind of a toss up out there, and the Mavs are the reigning Western Conference champs, I'll say yes, and I'll say it, you know, all the reasons you just said. And I think what it boils down to for me is they're one of the best offenses in the league. They're a top 10 defense in the league. But what I love about them is now, because of the additions that you just talked about, they could play two ways if they have to. They could play as an ensemble, like where Luka is, and he's brilliant at just, you know, having the ball and doing what we talked about last episode, which is just moving the chess pieces around the board, right? And then he's delivering it, and you've got capable people now. Or, you know, they can go to hey man, it's me and then it's you in a game where, you know, let's say an opposing defense decides to kind of take away that ensemble cast. I mean, they've got two bona fide superstar closers, and that's really tough in the playoffs. To deal with that dilemma. I've talked at lengths about, you know, you're talking about watching our Suns in the playoffs. Most people tried to stop Steve or Amari. Well, that let me get 15 or the 19 that you talked about, and Boris, and now we're all cooking in a way that it rings to 125. You can't score that much. Well, the Spurs, what they would do, the best defenses, would take us out of the game as the supporting cast. And then it was Amari and Steve beat us, right? And so that's the dilemma that a lot of teams fall into playoff time, 6-game series time, where we're trying to make that call from night to night. Well, the Mavs can beat you either way.
Going back to last year, when we watched Luka in the finals, does that his performance on the defensive end concern you at all? Or do you feel like that was kind of he was hurt, he's going up against this team that is just basically unfair offensively, and it's more of an aberration, and that his defense isn't as great a concern as people were saying at the time? Where do you come down on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could, the Boston Celtics were a well-oiled machine. And two things can be true. They could have been that, and it might not have mattered. But I can also have concern for Luka's effort at times, right?
Right.
And, you know, I don't think anyone's going to lobby for Luka being a second or third team all-defensive player with the responsibilities that he has offensively for that team. But giving consistent effort for his team so that he's not the point of breakdown in your defensive philosophy is really important for trying to win a championship for them. And I'd be lying if I didn't say I had concerns, but as it relates to the finals last year, you know, I think that's part of his growth process. You're tired at that point. That's a lot of work. It's a grueling season. You've just emptied the tank in a way that you're running on fumes. Everyone is in the finals. You're just running on adrenaline and fumes. And so I say that to say that, what you do and where you grow from that is you start to prepare in a way the next year, and take care of yourself in a way that hopefully when we get back to that situation, you've got a little bit more left in the tank. And I think Luka will learn those lessons. He is learning those lessons in real time. So I'm not really worried about it, Michael. I'm concerned, because quite frankly, we can't have that. But I'm not worried. I think that gets fixed.
I think I agree with you. I think he's the second best player alive. And offensively, the way he can just totally take over a game, elevate all of his teammates, makes him so special. I also think that, I think teams are going to hunt him aggressively for the rest of his career. And if you have the personnel where he can't hide anywhere, then it gets a little tricky. To answer this question, before we move on, no disrespect to Dallas. I think they're really good. I think I like the Thunder more. I think I would pick the Nuggets in a playoff series over them.
Okay.
And to be honest, I think I'd also pick the Memphis Grizzlies. And
wow.
I could be on an island there. I like Memphis a lot. I think Memphis is the deepest team in the league. I think that they don't, Bane and Ja aren't Luka and Kyrie, of course, as, high volume, high frequency ball handling closers. But I just think as a team and as a unit, the way they play and their identity in terms of pace, defensive intensity, how they crash the glass.
Fair.
If they can get enough shootings, I think that they could beat anybody. And I don't know how you feel about Memphis. I know I'm sidetracking there, but
they were one of my favorite teams coming into the season. It was one of the ones that Howard and I had talked about. Like I wanted to keep an eye on them, and I was intrigued by what they could potentially be. Styles make fights. You laid out a good case. I guess maybe the dormant year, if you will, last year has kind of, when you're talking about winning the West, it puts them, for me at least, in a tier, maybe right below.
Yeah,
those two that I've seen do it, or maybe three if they're Denver in that. But I'm not mad at you for that at all.
Let's go to the Orlando Magic. Kind of a sad situation here. So last time we spoke, Franz Wagner was my most improved player pick when we did our quarter season, and now he's out indefinitely. Paolo's out indefinitely, both with serious oblique injuries. My question is Orlando's season essentially over? Is the NBA Cup all they have to play for now? How do you feel about them?
Well, first, I don't know. Excuse me, I don't know timetable on oblique. What is that? A couple months? Those are.
Both. No, neither player has a timetable right now to return.
So, yeah, probably it's probably a wrap for them. It's too much to expect that much of your production to be missing. I mean, your number one and your number 1B guy are both gone. Forget about offensive identity. I'm just talking about the mood around the team, the leadership void, that's a lot to ask a team to overcome when those two pieces go out. And so more than likely, it's probably going to be playing for the cup. And that's it. Now, I would say that I don't have any experience with oblique injuries. I don't really know. If we're talking about 3 or 4 weeks and those guys can come back, well, they're playing really good basketball, and they're built on the right stuff in terms of defending and stuff like that. So if that were the case, I don't think it's a wrap. But I don't know how long. If they're out for a couple months, it more than likely probably a wrap.
Yeah, I kind of went back and forth on this. Generating good looks in the half court will be impossible. That's just that's not going to happen. I still don't think they'll be fun to play. They'll still defend. They'll still be massive.
Right.
I still think they can force a lot of turnovers, play in transition, play fast. They're tough as hell. Their bench is gnarly. They still have some depth. And they have the 6th easiest schedule in the conference. And the conference is completely broken right now. So, I feel like with the cushion that they have, 3.5 up on the play-in and they have a 7-game lead on the 11th seed. So I guess, like, to your point, I don't know when they're coming back. So if they're out for multiple months, then I don't think that cushion really matters, and they could go in a tailspin. Because if Jalen Suggs is your number one option, you're not going to win a lot of NBA basketball games. So I don't really have it. I don't know what to say because it's like I don't know when these guys are coming back. It's very difficult to answer this question.
It's a very difficult question to answer, and it's I'm gonna go inside the mind of like but everything changes. Like if your assignments, right? Like when one guy goes out, the next guy sequentially gets his job. Then the number 3 guy bumps into the number 2 role, and we're just going to move everyone up a number.
Right.
When those jobs kind of overlap at times, like 1 and 2 can overlap, 2 and 3 can overlap. When you start trying to move dudes multiple spots into like in that pecking order, and you're asking a number 3. Now it's different if we've got like 2 number 2s that are bona fide guys, but when you're taking a number 3 that's a really good supporting player and trying to cast him in that number 1 role, I mean that's a lot of pressure. And a lot of guys will tell you they can do it until someone asks you to do it consistently. Like when I got traded to Charlotte, and we were a team that had Gerald Wallace, who was probably our number 1, and Raymond Felton.
Mm-hmm.
But I think both of them at that point were like, number 1s on the Bobcats, but like probably not every night, you weren't going to get a consistent. So therefore, like Boris Diaw and I became like bumped up in a way where like from any given night, and sometimes on multiple nights in a row, if I was hot, Larry Brown would run offense to get me shots. Those shots weren't like an accent anymore. Like they were critical. If we didn't get them, we didn't have a chance. Like in Phoenix, those shots were like, we're going to have a chance if Raj is making or missing. If he's missing, we'll just, like Leandro will hit those shots. No big deal. Well, in Charlotte now, those shots are like, you don't make those, or you're tired, or you don't have the legs, or you get in foul trouble. We're not going to win. Not over the course of the entire season, Michael, but like over 3-game stretches. I didn't realize how hard that job was in the NBA until someone asked me to do that.
It's like they need KCP to play make almost. Like he'll have the ball in his hands. I don't even know who is going to be like the offensive engine here right now because Franz did so much and Paolo did so much before he got hurt. So tough. Just a really tough situation for Orlando. I kind of feel for them.
No doubt.
Let's go to the Bucks. Bucks are playing Orlando in the quarterfinals. So with championship or bust expectations, now that Chris Middleton is finally back, can this team win the title? I feel like it's the only question that matters in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I don't know, Michael. I don't know, man. I mean, I said it last year, I think a lot. My answer was yes whenever you had Giannis and Dame. I feel like they're a little bit past their expiration date. I feel like they're a little bit past it. I'd still pull for them. I'd still, I'm going to give you a puncher's chance. Giannis is playing fantastic. Dame's having a nice year. I don't know what Chris Middleton has left in the tank. That's a long time to be out. So how old is he now? Do you know how? Forgive me. I don't.
I want to say 33 off the top of my head.
Listen, man, I remember being 33. Those injuries, you don't come back the same way that you did. And he's been injured for a while, so I don't think he's the guy we saw when they were making those deep, championship runs. Yeah, I think they're a little past their expiration date. I'd still pull for them. I'd give them a punching chance, but like, I think they're just past it.
I don't trust the defense, like in a playoff series. And forget about one playoff series, because I think Giannis can win a playoff series by himself. He's that good. Dame can get hot, win games by himself, basically. The defense is just, I know they rank, league average maybe right now, right around there. But like in the playoffs, look, like Dame is kind of an Achilles heel. And I think teams are just going to attack him relentlessly. And I just, I think that that's too much to overcome, and has been the one element of this team that's prevented me from being excited about them since they traded Drew Holiday and went and got Dame. So I'm pretty down on them. I'm not gonna lie, and I don't know how they. I just don't know what the big picture steps are for them to actually get where they want to go with Giannis on the roster.
Yeah, there are gonna be some real creative sessions with the front office and ownership as to where they go after this one. I would imagine, defensively, when they were vying for those championships and where they were right in the mix, like that was the calling card. Like they were a really good defensive team. So, I mean, I know they lost some pieces. Clearly, Dame for Drew in terms of defensive ability is a huge thing, but I just felt like some of the guys that were on, when that's bred into you in that way, when you've had success and you've won doing it, I mean, you can have a change of coach, a change of philosophy and stuff like that, but typically like that's in your DNA in a way that and I just haven't felt like it's all on coaching, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I don't know, man, but I don't know where they go. If I'm telling you they're past their expiration date now with the roster they have, like I don't know where you go.
To be honest with you, like when they lost PJ Tucker from the championship team, I thought that was a significant blow to them. Like, I don't even know, like culturally, I guess, and just like having the tough guy who's going to be like, I'm going to guard Kevin Durant in this playoff series, and they don't have that guy on their roster anymore, which is tough.